everybody doing this morning? It is Tuesday. Tuesday Talks with 10:30. I'm evidential medium Stacy Niedenthal. Gosh, what a day yesterday was. What a month July has been. So I'm going to take this time to talk to you about some things that have been happening. So um, this is Tuesday Talks at 10:30. Good morning. I guess I should do the intro first. um, this is a time that we get together that I created several years ago. And this space was created for a safe space for you to explore your spiritual path. We touch upon many subjects, from grief to connecting to spirit, to our higher selves, and meditation, and so much more. The purpose of this is for you to reconnect with yourself, to work through things, and to find your unique self. So whether you are live or on replay or you're reading the blog, you've arrived at the exact moment that you were meant to be here. Welcome back to everyone who is returning to connecting to spirit. I'm so glad you're here. And if this is the first time that you've been here, welcome. I'm glad you found us. I'm evidential medium, spiritual healer, author, retreat facilitator Stacy Niedenthal. And I wear many woo-woo hats. And my passion is to meet you where you're at on your journey of healing and growing. So here, I just wanted to make sure we were live, and we're live. So good morning. So healing and growing. This is a constant state of growth with ourselves, with learning the world, with learning new situations every single day. And July, we are working with a new theme, and we are exploring things like emotional wisdom. We're exploring things like intuition, emotional release, reflection. And today, we're going to talk about that emotional wisdom and intuition. So last week, we explored dream journaling and how dreams can reveal patterns and emotions and insight that while we're awake, we may not recognize. We talked about paying attention to our inner world, things that are going on within us, instead of ignoring it. And today, we're going to take that conversation one step further. Dreams are that doorway into self-awareness, but emotional wisdom is what helps us to understand what we're discovering during those dreams. When we develop emotional wisdom, all of a sudden we create a space to recognize and to trust our intuition. How many of you have issues trusting your thoughts and your own intuition? I know I do. My hope for today is that this talk will leave you with a better understanding of the connection between your emotions, your inner wisdom, and your intuition. So, emotional wisdom and intuition. Learning to trust what's guiding you. So, what is emotional wisdom? I mean, in the spiritual realm, in the woo-woo world, we throw out all these terms that if you don't work with them on a daily basis, or you don't think about it on a daily basis, you're like, I don't know what the heck she's talking about. So emotional wisdom is when you begin with awareness. It's the ability to recognize what you're feeling and understand why you're feeling it. And you're choosing to respond instead of reacting. We've talked several times. You want to respond to a medication that you're given. You don't want a reaction. There is a difference between emotions, having them, and being controlled by them. Having emotions is not a problem, but when they control your daily life, that's when anxiety starts to come in. because it's hard to respond with clarity to an emotion that you don't recognize. And it may seem weird, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, why we don't recognize emotions. So this wisdom that we're talking about, it's not about suppressing emotions or pretending that we're calm. Yep, I'm fine. Many of us were taught that. We were taught to suppress our feelings, to judge them or ignore them. We learn to say things like, I'm fine, I'm stressed, I'm upset. But those words are often hiding something deeper. But because we've been taught this, we ignore them, but they don't disappear. They may show up in other ways. Stress, irritability, anxiety, tension. So being emotionally mature doesn't mean that you never feel anger or sadness or fear or disappointment. It means that you notice the feelings without automatically controlling your actions. Think about respond and react. Just like I said a minute ago. If you have poison ivy and you put calamine lotion on the poison ivy, you want the poison ivy to respond by going away. You don't want it to react by getting inflamed. Respond, react. So many emotions are difficult to name because it's not just one emotion. There's several feelings there. I remember years ago, when I was in therapy after my divorce, and my psychologist asked me what I was feeling, and I was like, I'm fine. No, what are you feeling? I guess I'm sad. What are you feeling? And they kept digging because there were more things to it. I was just playing it off like, I'm fine. I'm a little upset. Right? So it's sometimes uncomfortable to admit several feelings because we have put them in this compartment of stressed or upset. But there's more things happening behind the scenes. So within yourself, stress could actually mean things like disappointment or anger. Maybe you're hurt. Anxiety may be uncertainty, too much on your plate. Frustration comes from feeling unheard. Nobody's paying attention. Oh, why don't they hear me? I need to say it a different way. So until you're able to identify what you're feeling, it's difficult to know what you really need. And it seems awkward maybe to think to yourself, what do you mean? I don't know what I'm feeling and I don't know what I need. But think about how we put everything in a box of, how you doing today? I'm fine. It's rhetorical. You don't really think, how am I doing today? So emotions are messengers. And think about your emotions like your dashboard light in your car. When a warning light comes on, you don't ignore it in most cases. You don't panic in most cases. You become curious and you wonder what's happening under the hood. Your low pressure gauge comes on for your tires. So when you safely pull over, you look to see what the tire pressure is. Our emotions work the same way. Fear signals to us something feels unsafe. Unsafe. Feeling unsafe is not a good feeling, so it's easier to say, I'm anxious. Anger may tell us someone has crossed a boundary. But instead of thinking to yourself, I set up a boundary, they crossed it, it's okay for me to back away, we get angry. Sadness may point to loss. Joy often reminds us of connecting with something that's meaningful. So, in all of this that I'm saying, the goal is not to judge your emotions. The goal is to understand what they're trying to communicate to your body, because your emotions know what you need before the brain does. They are messengers, but not masters. They deserve our attention, but they don't have to make our decision. Yes? So, learning to name the emotions. One of the greatest signs of emotional maturity is developing the language to describe what you're experiencing. Instead of saying, I'm angry, ask yourself, am I angry or am I hurt? Am I disappointed? Am I embarrassed? Am I feeling rejected? Am I afraid? Am I overwhelmed? These are questions that you ask yourself so that you can put a name on the emotion. Instead of just saying, I'm sad, ask yourself, am I actually feeling disappointed? Someone disappointed me and it makes me sad. I'm lonely. I'm grieving. Oh my gosh, I feel hopeless. I'm discouraged. I'm ashamed, empty, homesick, regretful. Sad carries all of that, but naming what it is. These last few days, I felt sad because I was disappointed in something I thought would be taken care of by a company that does this for a living. But I was also ashamed of myself for not looking deeper into what was covered. Instead of, I'm anxious, maybe you're feeling uncertain or vulnerable, overwhelmed, restless, insecure, helpless, pressured, afraid of failing. So anxiousness can be caused by all of these things. I'm anxious because I need to make this right. I can't fail. And I feel vulnerable if I allow myself to put myself out there. And there's pressure from my bosses to get this done, but it needs to be right. So it makes you anxious. But name why you're anxious. And psychologists often call it name it to tame it. I love that. Name it to tame it. We put accurate words to our emotions when we put them there. They often become less overwhelming because we've moved from reacting to understanding. So the simple act, which in the beginning can be difficult, it took me a long time to put names on emotions. So the act of naming the emotion creates space between us and an automatic reaction. That space is where our wisdom begins, from learned experiences. Emotional wisdom creates space to breathe, to figure out. So think about a time when someone criticized you. Your first reaction was defensive, or was it anger? If you react immediately, your emotions are driving the situation. I'm a Leo. My emotions drive my situations crazy. But I am working on slowing that down. So, emotional wisdom, which is what we're talking about, is that pause. It's that getting quiet. Sometimes silence speaks louder than words. So instead of immediately reacting, pause. In your mind, in your heart, think, what am I really feeling? Perhaps beneath this anger is hurt. And I've had many situations in that where it's hurt. Someone left me down. Someone crossed a boundary. Someone broke my trust. So I'm hurt. I'm mad, but I'm hurt. Once you acknowledge those emotions, ask another question. What's the wisest response? What's the wisest response? Then pause. And that transforms your reaction to response. Again, for me, sometimes silence speaks louder than words. The better you become at naming your emotions, the better you become at understanding yourself. And when you understand yourself, you're less likely to be controlled by your feelings that you didn't recognize. It's like this spiral that never ends until you finally go, wait a minute, stop. I'm not going to continue going around in circles and spiraling out of control. What am I actually feeling? So, I tell you that, and you're probably thinking, so then where does intuition fit in? Sometimes we confuse our intuition with emotions, but they actually feel different. Emotions often react at the time of that particular moment. Intuition quietly observes. Emotion can be loud. Intuition is gentle. Emotion may demand immediate attention. Intuition invites thoughtful attention. So you're slowing down. Fear says, do it now. Fight or flight. Intuition says, pay attention. So until you become accustomed to your own emotional wisdom, because it's not going to be the same for everyone, until you develop this, it's easy to mistake fear and anxiety and excitement or wishful thinking for intuition. But when you understand the emotions, the inner noise begins to settle. And that's when intuition becomes easier to recognize. Wouldn't it be nice if things were easier to recognize? Not everything is a sign when it happens immediately. But the longer things settle in, there's a message. So think of your mind like it's a lake. When life becomes stressful, the water gets all stirred up. Fear, anger, resentment, grief, anxiety. What happens to the water if it gets stirred up? It gets cloudy. It makes it difficult to see to the floor, to the beneath. Your intuition hasn't disappeared. It's simply harder to recognize it because you have all this other stuff, all this turbulence going on. And as you acknowledge your emotions instead of fighting them, the water gradually becomes still, becomes clear. And we finally see what was there all along. That's what emotional wisdom does. It doesn't eliminate the emotion. It brings clarity. I've had several situations in the last couple months where one pivotal action of someone made me rethink all of their other actions. And all of a sudden, my clarity got murky. But the more I thought about it, the more it made sense that this person was not the right person to be in my circle to take my energy. They needed to work on things themselves while I needed to work on things myself. Make sense? We're looking for clarity. So, let's go back and let's connect this to dream journaling. So to me, this is why journaling your dreams can be a valuable practice. Dreams often reveal emotions that we've pushed to the side during the day. They may not always provide clear answers, but maybe your dreams are asking important questions. Maybe your dreams give you just enough nudge to make you curious. And when you journal it, when you write it down, and you start to notice recurring patterns and themes, you begin to recognize emotional patterns. Every time I have a conversation with so-and-so, every time I go so-and-so, I have this symbol in my dream. It's repetitive. Those patterns increase our self-awareness. And greater self-awareness strengthens, you got it, emotional wisdom. That wisdom grows. We become able to recognize our authentic intuition. Dreams, emotional awareness, intuition, it's all a part of learning the language of our inner life. We need to learn how our emotions, how our nervous system responds and reacts to certain situations. So there are practices that can help you grow, that can help you to cultivate emotional wisdom. Pause before reacting. Those of you who know me know that for a long time, if someone would come to me, I would instantly think they needed me to come up with a solution to a problem. And I wasn't totally listening to what they were saying. In my mind, I was listening to solve the problem. But what I've learned is sometimes people come to you just to be a sounding board. So my pause before reacting when someone is speaking to me, I will literally, I'll cross my hands and put my fingers over my mouth. And then I'll say something, and then put my fingers back. Because that's me saying, open your ears, shut your mouth, listen. I'm pausing before I'm reacting. Staying curious instead of judgmental. That's an interesting practice. Curious. I wonder why. I wonder how. I wonder what. Journal about recurring emotional patterns. Notice what your body is telling you, what it feels. If you, once a month or every time you're in a certain situation, you get a headache for 2 days, roll the tapes back. What was I doing before this headache came for 2 days? Has this happened before? Spend time in meditation or quiet reflection. I reflect a lot. I replay situations in my head all the time. And not because I'm overthinking it, because I want to learn why I responded or reacted the way that I did, and how that I can be a better safe space for people. Ask yourself, is this response coming from fear, or is it coming from wisdom? In the beginning, fear is going to pop up all the time because it's going to trigger something from a learned trait from before. Remember when you were little and you were told, don't cry or I'll give you something to cry about? Well, if something hurts your feelings and the tears are automatic, cry. Break that cycle of thinking it's not good for me to cry. Sit down and shut up, and I want to hear from you. Learn to use your voice. Instead of thinking, I just need to sit here and be quiet and just take whatever they're saying to me. No. Over time, you'll begin to notice patterns. You'll recognize when you fear speaking. And you'll recognize when fear is speaking. You'll recognize when fear is speaking, and you'll recognize when you have a fear of speaking. Old wounds might be activated. Those are those triggers. But with practice, you'll trust the calm. You'll steady the voice. And you'll hear the voice then of your intuition. Emotional awareness can become part of your prayer and meditation. Oh my goodness, if anybody would be in my head sometimes when I'm having conversation with God, where I'm like, all right, man, what's up? What's up? Literally, these last few weeks, I had 3 people that were in my family pass away. I was in a car accident. I was T-boned. And then 2 days ago, another friend of mine passed. Like, stop. So I have these conversations and I meditate on it and I think about it. And instead of hiding my emotions, I bring them to God. Throughout the Psalms, we see the expressions of fear and grief and anger and joy and hope. The writers don't pretend that they have everything together. They acknowledge their emotions and they seek wisdom and how to move forward or how to move through. A lot of my people that come to me that are distraught because they've lost a loved one and they say, how do I get over this? My love, you're not going to get over it. You'll get through it. So there's this difference of acknowledging getting over, getting through, figuring it out, working through it. Don't teach your emotions that I'm going to deny you. And that's not what your emotions teach you either, to ignore us. They teach us to bring them into a relationship with ourselves. How can we all get along? Why can't all the people that are inside of me, all the emotions that are inside of me, why can't we all just get along? That's what emotional wisdom and intuition brings you, a sense of peace with all the different emotions that are within you and your relationship with your higher self, with consciousness. We're all a work in progress, and we're all too hard on ourselves. And we all think that we just need to be brave. And we all don't want to be vulnerable. And we all don't want life to suck. But pushing stuff down causes stomach issues, nausea. Putting yourself third, fourth, fifth, sixth, carrying everybody's burdens causes back pain, headaches, stiff necks. So in closing, emotional wisdom isn't about becoming less emotional. It's about becoming more aware. Our emotions become our teachers instead of our dictators. Our reactions, how we react, then become thoughtful responses. We respond instead of react. We pause, we take a deep breath. We lower our voices, we take a step back. Then the inner world within us, like that lake, becomes clearer. Understanding our emotions creates conditions, favorable conditions, then for your intuition to emerge. I'm sure you've heard of shadow work, where you go back and you face situations and you work through them and you think about it. Well, shadow work is learning your emotional wisdom, the Yoda within us. It strikes me funny not. Last week we learned how to listen to our dreams, right? This week we learned to listen to our emotions. Both practices, both, invite you to a deeper awareness. And from that place of awareness, you can make choices with greater clarity, compassion, and wisdom. Isn't that what we want? And then intuition doesn't get confused with something. So, I want to leave you with this thought. Emotional wisdom teaches us to understand what we're feeling. Why am I feeling this? Digging deeper, asking yourself several questions. Intuition helps us to understand where we're being led. The quieter and the more honest that you become with yourself, with ourselves, the more clearly you can recognize the difference between fear's loud voice and wisdom's gentle whisper. And all of this is a part of a path that we're all on to live our unique self, to be who we're comfortable with being. It leads you to the path that enables you, my dear friends, to live the life you love and to love the life you live. We're learning. We're constantly on this path. But if we start to listen to the gentle whispers of wisdom, it will quiet fear's loud voice. To each and every one of you who tuned in on Tuesday at 10:30, I hope that you hear the gentle whisper. And I pray that you are living a life you love. I will see you next Tuesday at 10:30, right here. You can reread the blog. You can send this to a friend if you are thinking of someone that needs to hear this. It will be on YouTube and all the other Spidey areas. But for today and for always, I pray that you have the most magical day ever. You seek abundance. You seek love. You give love. But you love yourself as well on this path of life. Peace out. I love y'all. Have a great day.